and welcome to this week's episode of Housing for Good. I'm Karolyn.
And I'm Chris.
All right, Chris. We just had a very interesting conversation.
Oh, wait. Do we have news? I have news.
Go ahead then. Give me your news.
Okay, my news today. So I was talking to the director of an organization in one of the communities in McPherson County.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and all of our communities except for the city of McPherson are very small, 2,000 people. So this person was telling me that they actually had camping in one of their parks. And I won't tell you who or where. I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
Wow.
But there was camping going on, and they really didn't know what to do, so they called the police to have them removed. I think one family, they tried to figure out what to do because she was trying to stay in school or whatever. But, you know, that was very disheartening for me, for them to realize that they didn't know what to do. Like call us, see if we could help. I mean, we could have easily helped that family with the children that were still in school.
Definitely.
I mean, we could have. But it's like, how are we still so disconnected from all of these communities after almost 20 years and all the work we do, our podcast, our Facebook pages? We're everywhere. On TV sometimes. Yep. How is it possible that we continue to be disconnected? So that really bothered me a little bit, not only for the families who were removed from the property where they were, it was like a park or something, but also the fact that people in these communities who are leaders still don't know what to do. How can we, as the Housing Coalition, educate them enough to have them? We should be the first call, quite honestly. Yeah. Not the last, not the, I guess I could have done this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know either because, you know, we have been in every community in McPherson County. We have taken our cards and our brochures to city offices.
I know.
I thought we had spoken with police departments, but, you know, if there's turnover,
I don't know.
Then,
So anyways, that was sometimes we have really great news and other times I'm like, well, that's discouraging. But I mean, it's just something else that we have to work on. And so if you're an agency, you're probably right there where I am, where you're like, how is it that people still don't know exactly what we do or who they should call in these situations?
Yeah.
If you see something, say something, but don't. It can't always be the police because they don't always know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't always know. They're going to react to the crisis maybe and not react to how do we help these people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was my news. I know it's kind of depressing, but anyway, so this is the second in a series of talking about creating pathways from homelessness to home ownership.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So my cat is here.
Okay.
In case you saw that across the camera.
Yes, it came across the camera.
It did, but it's okay.
Well,
she's on my lap
you
now.
know, you remember a while back we had Berkeley that joined us, and
I know.
heavy breathing, and we wanted to make sure people knew it wasn't us. So
I know we love our animals around here. It's like a zoo. So it's fine.
We do. So this is the second conversation. Basically, we just got finished doing a podcast last time with Matthew Vanderstrass.
I don't know how you say it.
That was in Oregon, along the Oregon coast. And it was very interesting to see the work they're doing on the housing continuum to take a person from homelessness into home ownership and how they're doing that out there and what that looks like.
Yeah, that was really cool because they're mirroring a lot of what we're doing and we've never spoken to each other. And I even said we met this person, Matthew, I'm just going to call him Matthew, on LinkedIn. So he had this really cool post. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you really need to get on there because there is some really cool stuff with housing on LinkedIn.
Okay.
But he not only had explanations of what this should look like, but he also had these really cool pictures, and all that stuff. All the tricky things I don't know that I exactly know how to do, you know.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to see the differences and what that looked like. But we're going to talk today about what we do, and maybe some of the people in our county can listen and then have a better understanding of what we're doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it does take a team effort to move somebody from homelessness into home ownership, which I think is what everybody strives to do. And so where are you on that continuum is what we want to talk about. And probably the beginning point for us is we built an emergency shelter cottage where we originally thought we would house only families with kids because you have to stop the trauma that the kids are experiencing. They have no say-so on anything.
Right.
And but the longer we've been running this, since 2022, we have discovered that we also have room to make space for those people in our communities that are elderly. Maybe you are a single person or a couple and you don't have kids with you. We are still able to help you, even though it's a little bit different because you don't have kids involved, but you still need help getting housed.
So we need to talk a little bit about why the traditional systems fall short. Why are we over here touting this new thing that we're doing, and why is Oregon doing that, and why are people across the country now seeing that it needs to be a system and not a one-stop, not where you're just dealing with the crisis.
Yeah.
But we need to move people past that crisis. That's the only way we're going to solve this homelessness, is got to move people past homelessness in crisis mode or whatever. So what would you say to that?
The difference is most shelters are set up to provide a place to sleep, period. You don't have belongings. You are in a huge building with a lot of beds. It doesn't offer anything other than maybe a meal and a bed. And then you get up in the morning and you go back out while you're on the street. So where are you supposed to figure out, well, not figure out, get out of that crisis brain, trauma brain that you're experiencing? You can't even make a next decision because all you can think about is your next meal, where am I going to sleep?
Yeah, and to have that stability of being inside a home. The other part of that is what a lot of times is happening is they're missing that piece of wraparound services that need to be offered.
Yeah.
So if I don't have custody of my kids because I wasn't married to the father and I'm not getting child support, that needs to be dealt with. If I've got mental health problems because of being homeless or some trauma that's happened as a child or an adult, those things need to be dealt with so we can figure out what is going on. And a lot of times the traditional system, they don't allow for that. They're not taking care of the underlying problems.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, if you are homeless, there's a very good chance that you have lost every form of ID or documentation that you need to move forward. And so having a place to be for a period of time where you can start to be getting mail, you can have a place for an address so that you can begin the process of getting those documents back, just so you can even get started. So just the traditional shelter system does not work.
Well, the other thing that is always missed is that home ownership piece. People assume just because you're homeless at one point that you can never own a home. And that's really where you gain stability. When you own your own home, you get more stability, you build wealth for your family, you break those generational poverty mindsets or whatever. So I think that piece is missing 99% of the time, that people are stuck. A lot of times they don't have a way for them to move from the shelter to maybe permanent supportive housing and then on to more stable housing and then maybe to home ownership. Those pieces are missing. We're like sticking people in a box and just saying, well, you're homeless, so there's where you're at and that's how it's going to be. And so we can't move you forward because this is all we have. There's no connection with all of this.
Well, and the really sad thing is we're starting to see our older population where maybe they owned their house, but then their spouse died, and maybe the house was too big or they couldn't keep up with it, or I don't know, but for whatever reason they decided to sell. Okay, so now you are in a renting situation and your fixed income stays the same, but what you're being required to pay in rent is going up. And pretty soon you can't afford to be there. So maybe you owned a home at one point, but now you're in your golden years where you're supposed to be able to relax and enjoy your life. And, people are finding themselves, that is not their reality.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people's reality. And That's how that goes. A lot of times also with seniors, they can't maintain those homes anymore.
Yeah.
That's the other part of it. I mean, we do Brush Up Mac where we help do small home repairs and yard work and stuff, but it's really not enough a lot of times to keep them in that home for very long.
Yeah.
We try really hard, but so let's go back to what we did. So what housing gaps did MHC identify in McPherson County? What did we see?
Well, the first thing we saw was that while there are programs out there that will help you house somebody, if you can't address the symptoms or the issues that caused that family to become homeless, you can help them for a while, but eventually that help's going to run out. And they're going to be back right where they were because nothing's been dealt with or addressed. So as you mentioned, do you have custody of your kids? Do you receive child support?
Right.
Do you have a mental illness that keeps you from holding a job regularly? Maybe you have a physical situation, medication you should be taking, but you can't afford it. Or maybe you needed to see a dentist. That's keeping you from going to work. Well, an employer's only going to put up with that for so often.
Right.
And then they're going to say, okay, I'm sorry, but you're not coming to work the way you need to. So we really ask ourselves, what is contributing to this person not being able to hold a job and pay their bills? What do we need to do? And so then we help them move forward in those regards.
So, when I look at this next question, what inspired MHC to build a complete housing continuum? That's kind of a mouthful there. I think it happened in pieces, right?
Yeah.
So we started out as a development company to build housing for low-income families, and we did a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Well, then we saw a need for a shelter, but a shelter had to be different than the typical traditional shelter because we knew that maybe that wasn't exactly what needed to happen. So then we saw that, and then we saw that after people leave the shelter, they still needed help. So we're like, okay, wait a minute, how's that work? And then we realized that our families early on who were able to purchase a home were actually doing very, very well. So they started out as low income or not being able to afford housing, but now their kids are going off to college or keeping down really good jobs or doing all this stuff. So it wasn't an overnight thing. We literally started to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
And that's how we figured it out. All the things I swore we would never do. I'm never having a shelter. I'm not doing it. But if we're going to do it, let's do it right. And so that's how it came together for us. It wasn't that we had planned to do this.
Yeah.
As the pieces started to show up or we saw pieces missing. What is missing? Every time we have a problem, we say, what is missing? What are we not doing? What could we have done better?
Yeah.
I think that agencies need to ask themselves that every time something doesn't work well. What can we do better? How did we mess up? I always make everybody do that. We just had a situation not too long, a couple weeks ago, and I said, okay, let's look at what happened and what was each one of our parts to that problem.
Yeah.
And even though we didn't do it on purpose, what could we have done better? How could we have changed it so maybe we would have had a different outcome?
Yeah. Yep.
So I think that's important to always address what have you done wrong, because you can't be afraid to say that you did something wrong. I do stuff wrong every day. I admit it.
I know.
I'm a mess up. So there's that. But anyways. All right, Karolyn. So why is it important to think beyond emergency shelters?
Well, because the emergency shelter is just the starting point. You have to get a person out of the weather. You have to get them in a place where they feel safe and they can now start to think beyond today, beyond what I'm going to have tonight. And until they get to that point, which that can take a few days, they can't make a decision. You know, when something traumatic happens to you, or you have a death, you lose somebody that's very close to you. Any counselor that you talk to will say, do not make a decision for at least 6 to 9 months. Don't make a major decision for that period of time because your brain and your emotions and everything are all tied up in what you've gone through. And if you make a decision now, chances are it's not going to be what you should have done or what you would have done if you would have given yourself more time. So that emergency housing piece is just the beginning. But the problem that we see across the country is, like I said earlier, we put people in a bed overnight, and then in the morning you have to get up and get out.
Yeah.
well, I've done nothing to help you move forward in your situation that's going to be of any benefit, really.
Yeah, I was thinking about when you said don't make a decision after somebody's died, and I have a policy that I don't make any decisions when I'm super mad.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm going to say something I can't take back.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to be a little bit, I don't know what the word is, but, it's not a nice word.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I think about that, too, when I'm really angry, is not to react, not to say anything, just to let myself calm down. Sometimes it takes more than 24 hours. I was talking to Bonnie. She's on our board of directors, and I said, this is my policy. And she said, that is a brilliant policy. It's the same one I have. And she said, when I took over my job, the person before me said, sleep on it, whatever you do, don't make a decision, just don't, because you're going to do something and you can't take it back.
And you can't, yeah.
And it's like that, right? It is like that. So calm down, try to think, and then, talk to somebody. I get lots of advice. I ask people questions. I ask lots of advice all the time about, here's what I'm thinking. I call Bonnie a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Here's what happened. What do you think? And most of the time she takes my side, which I love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's my person that I call when I'm not in that, when I can't talk to one of you guys about it, or I've already rambled on about it long enough. I was like, I'm just going to call her and see what she thinks I should do.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the one thing probably that I have learned the most in the role of being with the Housing Coalition is you have to get that person out of that trauma thinking because they cannot make a decision. And it is a visible, you can actually see the person move from crisis, and then you give them a few days where they feel safe, they've got their needs met, and then the next time you see them, they're in a different place. And then that's when we start to talk with them about, okay, what my idea of a successful life looks like is different than yours. So what are your goals to get you to where you want to be?
Yeah.
And then you help them move forward that way.
So one of the things also we have to look at in this whole continuum is prevention, stopping homelessness before it starts.
Yes.
Can't even talk. So that's really important. That I think when we talked to Matthew, he talked about that. How do we get people from falling off the bridge? Right? They keep falling off, and then they go down the river, and then we grab them and pull them out.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it make more sense to try to grab them before that happens?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one thing I will say. There isn't a lot of funding out there to catch people before they fall in.
Well, and part of that problem, or at least my thought, part of the problem is in order for you to qualify for homeless prevention services, you have to have already received an eviction notice from your landlord, which by that point, you are maybe up to 3 months late, depending on your landlord. There are those that if you're late, they give you 7 days after you're supposed to pay your rent, and then they're already telling you to get out.
They're over it. I mean, they have to pay their mortgages and whatever else they have. They don't want to mess with you anymore, and they're guessing that this is not going to end, that you're going to continue doing this. But I think if there was some way at the federal level to make this a little bit easier for families that are struggling, so we catch them before they fall in, and then we don't have to have all these other crisis things because now the family's living in their car or tenting or wherever they end up.
Yeah.
Why can we not do that? That is the one thing that is an issue.
Yeah.
Is trying to catch them before they fall in. What does that need to look like?
Well, and I know that there are churches that give money to a specific agency that says they will help you with rent and utilities. The problem is that agency is only going to help you one time every 2 years. And so depending on what your situation is, that may not be enough.
Right.
And that's what we've learned in the time we do this is to get a family actually stable, it is going to take longer than you think, longer than you want. Right. And so you kind of have to be into it for the long haul. But yeah, getting rental assistance, getting some utility assistance, mediation between the tenant and the landlord. If you can make people aware that you're able to help with that, that is another big piece that can keep families and individuals housed.
So when we look at housing prevention and what does that look like, quite honestly, that's more housing. I mean, if we had more housing, we could offer it to our families in our community that are struggling, and then they're not going to fall in the river because we're right there.
Let's also say more housing that they can afford.
Right.
Because I think across the nation, we've watched the cost of rentals go up.
Right.
And quite honestly, we get asked this all the time. Well, what is affordable housing? Well, I don't know. How much do you make a month, and what is
Right.
30% of that?
Right.
So if you make $2,100 a month, then your 30% should be $700, period,
Yep.
for rent and utilities.
Right. Yeah. So I think that really is important that we continue to build affordable housing, affordable rentals, affordable purchase properties, everything that we can do that's affordable for families that are making in the poverty level or just above the poverty level. You know, the other part that people don't think about is those people that are just above the poverty level.
Yeah.
They're really the ones who are in trouble because they're making a little bit too much money, so they don't qualify for anything. And then one thing happens, and then there they are. So you find people living on the street sometimes who were just average middle class people, and something happened, and then there they are because something happened to them, and it just got out of hand, and now they're homeless.
Okay, so you just said something that made me think about an article I read yesterday. Do you know the largest, besides the elderly being priced out of their homes, the next group of people that are finding themselves homeless are people that have jobs. They have a regular job.
Yeah.
They go to work every day. They work hard, but they just don't make enough money. And this article also said that for the typical worker, $1,000 is all it will take to make you become homeless. So you have your car break down at the same time that something else happens to you.
Right.
And you could handle. But then you throw a second one in there, and that's the breaking point. That's where you can't handle it. And that can be as simple as $1,000.
That's not, wow. That's not a lot of money anymore.
Not a lot of money.
That's not a little. So, okay, so we've talked about homelessness. We've talked about all that. We've talked about trying to get people before they fall into the river. There is the emergency housing and crisis response, but what about transitional and supportive housing? Why is that so important?
Well, for somebody that comes to you from the emergency shelter, you've been working with them now for a while. And even though it's now time for them to find permanent housing, maybe they still need the case management. Maybe they still need the supports that you gave them at the emergency shelter. And then the other thing is they need to be someplace where the rent is controlled, 30% of their income. And so that permanent supportive housing, that is a key piece. First of all, it's affordable. Secondly, you get all the benefit of the services, the wraparound services that you were just getting started with. They can continue, and there's somebody to help cover the cost of that.
What I really love is when we see a family, we put them in supportive housing. Now all of a sudden they get a new job and they get to pay a little bit more rent, and they're like, oh my goodness, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can become independent. I can pay my bills. I can do this myself, and I'm able to move forward because maybe they don't want to be in supportive housing anymore. Maybe they want to be more independent and have a yard and do all those things.
Yep.
So now they get to do that, and they've been able to build that confidence to be able to do it. I love it when that happens. We've had that happen a couple different times where families are like, I don't need you anymore. It's like, yay, we want you to not want us, to not need us at all.
Yeah. I never want somebody to feel like they have to leave our housing. But when you get to the point where you no longer need us and you're able to support yourself, that's a goal.
Right.
And so while we're going to, say goodbye, it's a good goodbye.
It's a wonderful goodbye. And we don't just dump them on we always let them know we're still here. And if something happens, let us know. Let us know immediately. Don't let us know 3 months down the road when you found yourself in a major crisis and you're about ready to be evicted again. Let us know ahead of time. Don't wait.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing we have to teach our families too, is not to wait when they come in a crisis, because it's like if you wait, then it becomes a bigger problem, and this snowball just grows and grows, and the next thing you know, it's running over the top of you and taking everything with it.
Well, and I would even say that to people who are renting, don't wait until you miss the second rent check to let your landlord know there's a problem.
Yeah.
And to reach out to us or an agency like us that's in your area. We're all over the United States. You just may have to ask a few questions. But, we want to get to you before you're evicted. We want to get to you while you're still in your housing and move you forward. But, Yeah, I'm really proud of our permanent supportive housing, Sutherland Estates.
Yeah, it's working well.
It's working very well, and we have families in 7 houses, and we're finishing the final 5 for a total of 12 there. And we're starting to take applications, and people are very interested in how can I get in there? How can I live there?
Yeah.
So,
and they're really cute,
and
too.
they're very cute.
Yeah, they're very cute. So we've done a good job. We don't slap them up. They're very well built. They're very nice. We do our little inspections to make sure everybody's maintaining our properties. But yeah, it's really fun. Okay, so now let's talk about affordable housing development.
Okay, but before we go there, I have to tell you.
Okay.
So I met with a domestic violence advocate for one of my clients. And this was the first time that she had been in Sutherland Estates.
Oh.
And she said, the one thing that impresses me the most about these little houses? And I'm like, what's that? And my client said, the dishwasher, right?
The dishwasher, right?
I had to laugh.
That's so funny.
But this advocate said, no, that washer and dryer that you provide.
Oh.
That is what I am most impressed with of everything that you do for folks that are living here. Just that alone is such a blessing.
Yeah.
So when you think about just time management and running your family.
The dishwasher. That's funny. You can tell how important that is. But anyways, that's really funny.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to go into affordable housing development. We've talked about the emergency side. We've talked about supportive housing. And now we look at affordable housing development. That's important for lots of different reasons. We need to build more rental properties that are affordable so that our families can afford to live out in our communities without our support. That's what we want.
Yeah.
But then also to be able to have dignity in what they're doing. They've hopefully through our programs, they've learned how to be a good tenant. They know what that's supposed to look like. And it's really important that we're able to provide that for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm super excited about this next step that we're getting ready to make.
I know.
It makes me very nervous, but at the same time, it is exactly what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And that affordable housing development will be either rentals that people can afford, or it will be homes for sale that people can afford to buy as a first-time home buyer.
So let's talk about the bridge to homeownership. Why is that so important, do you think?
Well, it's everything. Like you said
Mm-hmm.
earlier, that's your wealth development. That's your ability to own your own property. That's the American dream. And you raise your kids, and that it's the dream that everybody has.
I think so too. And I think kids learn to take care of things better. They're proud of it. They know it belongs to their family. I don't know. I've seen a couple different families in our community when they had their own home after we were able to help with that. I mean, it was unbelievable the way that those families blossomed. I was like, wow, this is incredible. I mean, this is it.
Yeah.
If we could provide that dream to more people, hardworking people. These are hardworking people.
Oh,
people
yeah.
have these things that think that they're lazy and they don't want to do anything. That's a very small population.
Yeah.
Most of our people, we have somebody living there now who's going to school in our emergency shelter, going to school, working 40 hours a week. I don't know how she's been doing it living in her car this whole time.
Yeah.
But that is going to be, I guarantee you that's going to be a success story.
Yeah. Oh,
She is going to go be whatever she's studying to be. I don't want to say because I don't want to give it away. But anyways, but to watch that and to know that we are giving her a future and that now she can rest at night and have a place to do her homework and be able to just be at peace, know that she's safe, have food and all the just simple stuff.
Yeah. Well, the other part that comes along with owning your own home is you're a part of the community. Like, I'm going to invest in the community where I live because I want my neighborhood to be amazing and I want my town to be awesome. And I want to make sure that we have everything that we need for the population. If I'm renting, if I'm moving around all the time, it's really hard to be proud of where you live. And so, yeah.
So we talked about success stories and community impact. When we do this, it actually does lower the cost for the community. That's what people don't understand. People are no longer using the emergency room for the doctor. There's less calls to the police departments.
Yep.
There are less calls to any of the agencies that they need because we've stabilized families. They see that there's a future. They're calmer. The kids do better in school. I mean, we could talk all day long about the community impact, which is incredible. So what do we see as the future? What do you think? What are we going to do next?
Well, I don't know. I will tell you that so I'm coming up on my anniversary. Been here 6 years.
Oh, yay.
And if you remember, I hadn't worked here very long, and you called us into your office, you and I and the other woman that worked here, and you said, "Now, girls, I don't know exactly what's coming, but I just want you to know that I just have the feeling that something big is on the horizon for McPherson Housing Coalition." And I walked out of that room thinking, what is she talking about? And what did I get myself into?
I know.
So you're asking me?
I know.
I'm going to throw this back to you.
I know.
What?
I know.
What do you see on the horizon?
I think we just continue to work with this continuum from the bottom. Like I told you earlier, we had a call from one of the communities here.
Yeah.
Do they need some sort of an emergency shelter? What does that need to look like?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Do we know that we need more affordable housing that people can purchase. We know we're going to have more supportive housing projects. We know we need more rentals. So for us, it's going to be a lot of construction and making sure that we have the right people in place that can run, because what we're talking about is pretty huge.
Yeah.
Who do we have in place? Who are we training? What are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, making sure we have the model that is a strong, healthy model, and making sure that we continue to review. Like I said, you can't be afraid to admit that you screwed up. I do it all the time. I mess up. I admit it. I look at it. I analyze it. And then I'll say, okay, this is what we did wrong. Here's how we need to change it. Just simple stuff. Just over the years, when you think back of things that I was like, oh, okay, that didn't work. Let's do it. Let's try it this way next time.
Yeah.
Let's look at it. Maybe we shouldn't react here. Maybe we need to do this differently. So that's what I see. We're going to strengthen McPherson Housing Coalition. Joey has big dreams for the podcast for McPherson Housing Coalition. So we'll see what happens with that. You know, and so we just continue to move forward until we're too old or whatever.
Okay, so that does make me think out loud. Which communities in McPherson County would welcome some sort of an emergency shelter?
I don't know. That is going to be a question that we're going to ask when we have our community meetings. What are you seeing? What are you missing? What can we do? Where do we find the funding to take care of this? I mean, the cool thing about the Oak Harbor Cottages Emergency Shelter was that the churches came together and the businesses and the community.
Yeah.
And we didn't cost us anything to build that. I mean, we literally had all the funding come to us and all the volunteers and everybody. You know, the businesses donated siding and plumbing and electrical and all that. We did nothing. So we really coordinated, of course, but we really didn't do anything else. And so what does that need to look like for these other communities? Because this one community, they really didn't react properly, quite honestly. They didn't know what to do. They were shocked that it was even happening.
Yeah.
But as things continue to move forward with the economy and some of that stuff, it could be happening more and more. I don't know that for a fact, but I know people are struggling right now.
Yeah. Well, the other part of that is, in thinking out loud here, if you had an emergency shelter in your community, you now can house people, families, where the kids are still in their community. They can finish school instead of getting yanked out and now you're someplace else.
Right.
So there's a lot of stability that comes with that alone. But again, your community has to be willing to take a chance and make that a reality for the people in your community that are struggling.
And some of them I know won't want it. I know of one particularly. They're like, we don't want that in our community.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, that's how you feel about it. But, you know, if we can get these families that are struggling stabilized and back to work, that helps everybody, right?
Oh, yeah.
That helps
Absolutely.
everybody. What helps one helps us all. When one rises, we all rise. I mean, that's just a simple quote. And so that's what needs to happen is we have to figure out how to stabilize these families and help them move forward.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. All right. If you would be interested or you know somebody who would be interested in being on Housing for Good, drop us a line, leave us a review. If you have any comments or questions about what you're hearing us talk about, please let us know this, and you can do all of that at housingforgood@mcphersonhc.org.
And have a great day.